Go ahead and hit the record. And there you go.
And thanks, Tiffany, for handling all our tech.
Yeah.
So she is the founder of G-Force PR. She's an expert on branding and real estate agent branding. You'll all be glad to hear. She's an expert on social media, on events, on campaigns and web content, marketing communications. She's on the board of directors of the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame. She is Barbara Pike Gonzalez. So thank you, Barbara, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Let me make sure I got this going okay. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
The thumbs up.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for the opportunity to be here with you today. I am going to talk about personal branding for you as agents and for your teams to really be able to stand out among the crowd, but in a way that is authentic to you and the way that's really going to make an impact in your business. So a little bit about my personal brand. I am obviously the founder, as Dave mentioned, of G-Force PR. I started my agency full-time in 2019, so about 6 months before the world shut down, which was not exactly part of my strategic plan, but made it through, and I am here today. I have over 20 years of marketing and PR experience. Pretty much every department within a marketing team I have been a part of or have run, and really have found my true passion in personal branding and really then expanding that on the PR sides. We'll talk more about that. I am a wife and a mom to two, I say two teenage daughters just because it's easier. I have one that's 12 and a half and one that's 14. So I'm right in the thick of that stage of parenting. I have also two black labs there. It's my Charlie and my Wrigley. Charlie is 10 months old and Wrigley is almost 16 years old. So quite, I know, I just, every day I'm like, he's still with us. He's so sweet. So those are the boys. I love hiking. As we mentioned, I'm here in Denver. So I am a huge sports fan, which sometimes is easier in Denver and sometimes is harder in Denver. It depends on the sport. So we're kind of riding the wave of all that it is to be a Denver sports fan. And lastly, I always like to say that I am both a dreamer and a doer, which I think it lends so much to what I do for a living, because I love taking that strategic, tactical side and incorporating it with more of a creative aspect. Let's really kind of dream big. Let's think about what's possible, and really being able to kind of carry both of those with me is something that just lights me up, and I love what I do. So I would love to hear see in the chat, if you would. I'm just curious how many years of experience everybody on the call has within real estate, just so I can kind of get a sense of where everybody is. I know I've heard a little bit of the discussion before we officially kicked off, but I'm just kind of curious where everybody is. You could share that in the chat with me. Fantastic. Okay. Great. Wow. I love it. Perfect. So kind of the range. I love that, the 7 months all the way to 35 years. That is amazing. 3 months. Fantastic. Well, I really do think that what I'm sharing with you today is going to be beneficial to you regardless of where you are within your career and kind of what your goals are. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. So some of you may be more familiar with what personal branding is in general, and others may be less so. So to set the table of what we're really going to talk about here is a strong personal branding strategy really sets you apart and gives you the confidence and the clarity to convey who you truly are and what you bring to the table. And I know that it is, especially maybe for those of you that are newer in your career, it can be a little bit more tempting to see what other successful people are doing and wanting to automatically emulate that, or taking on a kind of a persona or a style that you see other successful agents doing even though that may not feel authentic to you. And the key to really connecting with the clients that you are meant to work with is you having the ability and the confidence and the clarity to show up as your authentic self and who you truly are. And so we're going to dive into that more in the presentation about really how to get that clarity if you don't already have it. And if you already do have it, how to sustain it and how to expand it. So when I work with my clients, and I've worked with female and male realtors here in the Denver area, as well as others who are in highly competitive markets, so coaches, wellness professionals, all across the board, all the way to CEOs of their own companies and of corporate entities. And it really boils down to these three components: knowing, showing, and growing your worth. And that's really what I talk about with my clients. So knowing your worth, truly, again, understanding who you are here to be, what it is that you bring to the table, and how you're going to reach your highest potential. There's oftentimes a tendency for some people, not for all, but for many people, to kind of play it small, kind of hide a little bit, don't want to make people uncomfortable, don't want to seem like I'm bragging. We throw all of that out the window. It's really owning who you are and your expertise you bring and your experience that you bring. And that experience may be direct years of experience within the real estate industry, or if your experience may be unrelated to real estate, but however, brings that value to where you can relate to the experience of your clients and what they are going to need from you. So secondly, show your worth. That's really commanding that attention and conveying your expertise and your thought leadership. So maybe that is through speaking engagements, through podcasts, any other opportunities that you have, either locally within your area or nationally, to be able to convey that and show your expertise. We're going to talk about that more in the presentation as well. And then lastly, growing your worth, expanding that visibility. As I say, talking about what you bring to the table, let's take a look at how big your table is. Where are other places that table needs to be? How can we make that table bigger? More of that is what we're going to talk about today. So the bigger your market, I'm sure that you all already understand this, the more imperative it is that you get crystal clear on who you are, and you're able to articulate that in terms of who you serve, how you serve them, what you offer, and what makes you unique. And in real estate specifically, your personal brand really does establish that credibility, that trust factor that your clients need. And that's what's going to connect you with your clients that you are meant to work with. Those that you have that solid foundation with, that, again, that partnership of trust, of just being able to really connect with them in a way that drives loyalty, and also ultimately certainly increases referrals, because that's what it's all about, right? You're building these relationships. You're continuing to be top of mind for when they are ready to make a move or they have somebody in their life. That is because of the relationship that you built, because you have shown up authentically as who you are, and you have shown them time and time again that who you say you are is truly who you're showing up as. So I know that you all know that there are a lot of realtors in the industry right now. Right now, we're looking at about 1.5 million across the United States. And again, the key is, how are you going to break through? How are you going to set yourself apart where you are going to get that market share that you are meant to work with? So I'm curious if, again, with the chat, if you could let me know from a scale of 1 to 5 in where you are right now in developing and executing on your personal branding. So give me a 1 if this is the first time you're even thinking about it, is on this webinar right now, up to 5 being, oh, I've got this locked and loaded. I am consistent. I know how I show up for my audience. My clients know what to expect from me. Would love to kind of see where we are. Fantastic. Great. Fantastic. Okay. Great. Awesome. This is great. So many of you are kind of in the middle. So a little bit toward, this is something a little bit newer to you. Maybe it's something that you've heard a lot about. You know it's something that you need to do, but with everything else you all have on your plate, maybe this is something that is a little less consistent, maybe a little bit more sporadic, but we're going to really get you to focus more on this, and we're going to see how it's going to help you build your business. So thank you for sharing that feedback with me. So these next couple slides is really where we're going to spend the majority of our time here. So these are a few areas in which you can really start to stand out. And again, some of you may already be doing some of these, and some of these ideas may be brand new, but we're going to go through them and talk more about how we can specifically relate them to your business. And then we're going to dive deeper into ways that you can really start to think about your personal brand. So first, think about where you can, if you haven't already, where can you really niche down and specialize? Is it a certain neighborhood within your area? Is it a certain type of house or type of marketplace that you are really finding the most success in and you have the most experience in, and that's where your market is? Is there a certain audience that you really have connected with, that you have shown time and time again that you are building that rapport with them, that you are building that book of business with them, whether that's new buyers, whether that is people downsizing, whether it's the luxury market, whatever that might look like for you. Think about how you can specialize. That's going to be a really strong way to set you apart. Think about, from a PR perspective, how can you show up as an expert in your field and in those niches that you have identified? Think about your local media, your local broadcast stations, your newspapers, your business newspapers or online digital publications in your area. You really build that rapport with those people where you can become the real estate go-to person for that publication. Maybe it's a regular article that you're able to produce on a monthly basis or whatever, or simply if there is a big real estate transaction in your area, you are the person that they talk to about that. But think about ways, if it feels right to you, that you can do that as well with your local media. Very similar, real estate podcasts, conferences, anywhere that you can be the featured expert with a certain audience or with a certain just a certain demographic, that if this is something that you're looking to do, really elevating and again growing your worth, that third component that we talked about earlier, getting in front of these types of opportunities and establishing yourself as an expert, especially if you are someone who is looking to establish or grow a team or expand your reach and expand your market. Doing something more national that way could potentially be a great way to do that. And then leverage your experience, your expertise, and your education. And again, that may or may not be in real estate. You could, if you are someone that is newer in your industry and you're just getting started and you're building your business, is there something else in your previous life that you can bring back to really set you apart? Maybe, maybe it is, you were in the military. Maybe that is something that you bring, that level of service, that commitment to country, those kinds of things. That could be a huge part of who you are based on your experience, even though it has nothing to do with real estate directly, but it's who you are. And that's how you can set yourself apart. It can be, you were, whatever it could have been, in a previous life, a teacher, a stay-at-home parent, corporate, whatever that looks like. And again, that's just if it's aside from the traditional, I have X number of decades in real estate, or I have, X millions sold, whatever those numbers look like for you. But take some time and think about, what am I not talking about that I really could be talking about, that's going to set me apart, that's going to help people connect with me because maybe they have similar experiences, or maybe there's just an affinity for something that is in your past that's made you who you are, that people are going to connect with. So it may or may not be something that you've thought of yet, especially if it's not directly related to real estate. But I really encourage you to take some time and think about that. Again, being a thought leader, thinking about what would my audience need to know, whether that is real estate trends, obviously financing trends, mortgage rates, all of those kinds of things, where your area is going. Is there a certain area within your town or within your region that is really high growth right now? Is there a lot of change within certain areas of your market, your neighborhood, your region? Thinking about how you can share some of that knowledge and that expertise, where again, you're top of mind, whether somebody is ready to buy or sell today, or they know it's going to happen in the future. You've consistently shown up in a way that you are top of mind, and you're setting yourself apart in that way. Next, own what makes you unique. And I think in all of the ways that we've touched on already, that builds upon that. But there's other ways. Maybe it is you have a big family and you really share that in all of your marketing materials or something like that, this is me with my kids and my spouse and my partner, and this is part of who I am. Maybe I've worked with a client who has an unusual last name. So she has kind of used that to set herself apart, and she's branded herself with that as an example. Is there anything that, again, may not directly be related to real estate that you may not have actually thought about, but really does make you unique and sets yourself apart? And maybe it's a hobby that you have that you maybe want to shine a spotlight more on, something in your personal life, a personal goal that you're really working toward, that you want to start sharing that because your audience and your clients you're meant to work with may be inspired by that, or they may see themselves in you or something that they can relate to. Maybe it's, training for a marathon or whatever that might be. Just thinking about and taking that time to think about what makes me different. What can I share that you're comfortable in sharing, number one, but something that does help you to stand out. Anything like that, always be thinking in terms of that. Creating strategic partnerships and building a community. What does that look like for you? That could be if you are a woman in business and that's something that you're very passionate about. I want to really build this community of fellow women in my business, or I'm sorry, women in business. I will be the one who brings these people together. I want to be a connector for them. I want to really make sure that everybody is sharing their resources and who they are. If that's something that feels good to you, that could be something that you could do, again, to stand out and really establish your brand. And also being active in your community, which I'm sure many of you are now, just as ways to network and to keep your name out there. But if there are certain philanthropies or certain things within your community that you are really personally passionate about and have a strong connection to, see how you can elevate your presence there even more. Because not only are you making an impact in your community, you're supporting your community, but you are also showing people that that's something that's important to you and they can connect with that. And then lastly, something to consider is your personal style. Is there a certain color that you always wear? If you are a really big fan of a certain sports team, do you always wear those colors or their logos or whatever it could be? Or are you always dressed up? Are you always very formally dressed? Is that your thing? Are you more casual? Is that your thing? Whatever that is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's whatever feels right to you, and just something to consider. And the biggest thing in all of this and everything that we just went through on this slide is really being consistent. Be consistent in how you show up, in where you show up, because that's going to teach your audience, your client base, what to expect from you. And that's the foundation of your personal brand. So at the end of the day, it's really about what is the experience your clients get from working with you. based on how you show up, based on what you share, based on your expertise, based on visually what they see from you, based on how frequently you are showing up on social media. All of those aspects are really creating that experience of working with you, and you are empowered to decide what is that experience that they get. And that's what builds your personal brand. Any questions at all about what we just went through? Any initial thoughts, feedback, anything like that? Feel free to place it in the chat, and I'd be happy to respond to anything that you feel like sharing that feels right. Okay. Now we can move on from here. What I want to do now is give you some actual tactical things to think about when you're thinking about your personal brand. It is, Dave, it's difficult, right, to be consistent in that way, because like I said, it's another thing that you have to think about. But if you can get to a point where it's almost just part of your day, part of just how you're thinking about yourself, when you're thinking about how you're serving your clients and what you need to do to deliver for them, think of yourself to a degree as a client. Certainly you're not a real estate client, but you're still like, okay, what do I need? What do I need to put out there? How do I need to show up? And how do I want to show up? What feels right for me, and not what somebody else is, and not what somebody has told you you need to be, but truly what feels right to you. So I'm going to kind of pause here. I'm going to go through some of these questions, but I'm going to give you some time to think about some of these questions, whether you want to journal them, write them down, or I'm sure all of you have your phones with you. If you want to put it in a note, however that works for you, or if you're not in a position, if you are driving or just not in a position where you're able to do so, you can just kind of start thinking about some of these. So this is a subset of the questions that I go through with my clients when I'm developing their personal branding strategy along with them. So this doesn't include all of them, but it is a subset. And so I wanted to share a few, because they're kind of in different topics. So there may be some that really strike a chord with you. And maybe that's because, I need to think about that, and I haven't been thinking about that. Or this is something brand new that I really want to explore a little bit more. So some of those questions are, what lights you up? And again, it can be about real estate or not, because you are a whole person. You are not just a real estate agent. You are so much more than that. So your personal brand will encompass all of who you are. So what lights you up? How can you and do you serve other people? What are you known for in your community, in your family, in your friend group? And is what you're known for, does that represent who you are today and how you want to show up for your audience? Or is there maybe an opportunity to take a different look at that and make some changes? Whose presence do you admire and why? Again, still staying true to who you are, but you can still take some inspiration from others and just make sure that whatever inspiration you do take still is aligned and core to who you truly are. So I will give you just a few minutes. I am going to mute myself. Let me give you about 5 minutes or so to just kind of think about these questions. Like I said, journal, write it in your phone, or just think about it. And I'm excited to hear what happens on the other side. I'll give you about 2 more minutes. Okay, perfect. It looks like a lot of you are finished writing. And you also will have this list of questions as well. So if you didn't have a chance to get through as many as you wanted, or for those of you that aren't in front of your computer screen, you will have this afterward and you'll be able to spend some time and really think about the answer to these questions and how these really do help you to really get that clarity on who you are. Is there anything, and definitely you're not on the spot, but is there anybody who would want to share any of their answers relative to any of the questions that they had chosen?
I will, Barbara. I'm going to be known as the local expert and do that through regular video. So I've come to enjoy actually doing video, and Kristen on my team, she does it as well. She's really good, better than I am, but I don't do it regularly at all. So that's the problem, is just having a system to kind of keep up with it, I think, for me.
Yeah. And with the videos that you do, do you have a system in place from a content perspective, or is it just as things come up and you're inspired to do a video on them, you'll do one?
Yeah, I have big plans, but I don't have a system to make sure that I follow through on it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that I share with my clients, is because a lot of them are very similar, either whether it's video or just social media in general. What I always recommend is to break it down as much as they can, like in terms of different themes or something like that. And then they always know, okay, I'm going to do 3 videos a week. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Every Monday, it's going to be a video about this. Every Wednesday, every Friday, however that would work for you and for the message that you're looking to convey. But oftentimes I find that taking that time to try to put some kind of a plan together, at least to organize it in your head, what it is that you want to share, then that helps with the consistency a little bit, and it doesn't feel so daunting, and it doesn't feel just like another thing on your plate that just doesn't maybe get the priority that everything else does. But it helps a little bit if it's a little bit more systematic, and oh, okay, I know these were the top 5 topics I wanted to talk about this month or this week or whatever. I can go to that. I can do a quick video. So a little bit of advice there if you find that helpful. Thank you for sharing. Is there anybody else that wants to share anything? Okay, that's totally fine too.
I can share, Barbara.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
So I think the last question on that list was something that really struck me. What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room?
Yeah.
And I'm very clear on what I want that to look like. But the interesting question is, thinking about that as a personal brand, that this is what I want people to say when I'm not in the room, that I'm, a hard worker, that I'm kind, that I make them feel like they're my only client. And so then how do you translate that into your brand? So I think that's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is too, with that question, and then the one above it, how do you want people to feel when they are in your presence? That is really in every aspect of your life. How do you want the barista at Starbucks to feel when you place your order? How do you want to treat them? Because everything that you do, big and small, is a reflection on who you are. And I think honestly, just having that awareness, especially, before you go into a listing appointment or before you go into showings or calls or whatever that may be, taking that second to kind of ground. And I don't want to get too woo woo, but I think there's some power there. Just taking a second, be like, okay, how do I want this meeting to go? How do I want people to feel? How do I want to show up? And it can be literally while you're in your car before you're about ready to walk in, just a quick minute. And that really helps to enforce what it is that you want to have your people experience. And that's what's going to enforce your brand. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I realized that I forgot to share with my personal brand is that, so when my first job out of college was actually, I'm from Nebraska originally, was at the Omaha Area Board of Realtors. And this is dating me for sure, but we actually took the MLS online when I was there. So they were totally using books. Everything was on paper. And then when I was there in 94, 95, that's when the MLS really launched and everything went online and digital. So I can't believe I forgot to tell you all that, because that's just it. I have such a special place in my heart for real estate as an industry and the agents, because that's literally my first job out of college was supporting your industry and your fellow agents. So yeah, that's why another reason that this is so special to me. And I saw firsthand all of the work that goes into it, especially all that back end work that nobody sees. Any other thoughts? You can even put them in the chat if you want to, about these questions. Were there any questions that you really kind of struggled with? I know, Simon, I know that you had raised your hand.
Hey, hello, thank you. One of the thing was your body language and what you're doing. So what I've been doing is just wearing my logo hat wherever I go, or a shirt. It could be a birthday party or something. And if somebody says, "Hey, why are you wearing that shirt?" and I say, "It's to start a conversation with you." If I was wearing any other shirt, you wouldn't start a conversation with me. So I've been trying to brand my my logo everywhere I go, so then people will always remember, if I'm not in the room, that, hey, call Simon for real estate, because subconsciously I'm putting it in their head on any parties or birthday parties or wherever I go. Now, yes, if I am going to a formal thing and I'm dressing up like Curtis, I have a little pin that says Simon Kareem, and it says, "Ask me what I can do." So people are gonna ask me a question, and it's just a conversation starter.
I love that. And
Instead of saying Simon Kareem and my realty, whatever the realty name is, I just say, "Ask me what I could do." So
see, and that's exactly it. And because you've done the work on your personal brand, you have that answer locked and loaded. Versus like, oh God, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. And I think also what that does when you are representing your business and your brokerage, and that when you're wearing that, you realize I am representing this. So I think there is no hiding behind that then. And so you do think about everything that you are doing, how you're interacting with people, how you are making people feel, how you're showing up for them when you're wearing those logos, because there is that kind of added responsibility, and that knowing that you are representative. And so the experience that you're creating for those people will reflect directly on the agency, the brokerage, the business, all of it. So that's even a better way to kind of deepen that connection with what experience you want people to have with you. Anyone else want to share? Sounds good.
Well, that's exactly my philosophy is there's no shame in my game. I'm a realtor. This is what I do. It's in your face. If you want to talk about it, let's have a conversation. If not, then you don't have to talk to me, but at least you know that that's what I do, because I came from a different business, which is security cameras, and that's what my community do. But now I have to transition myself into a realtor, and they must know that this is what I do. So.
Yeah. And I find that a lot. I work with a lot of people who are transitioning to different careers, whether that's on their own doing or not, quite frankly, with the economy. But it's interesting that people, that's often a challenge that they have is how do I talk about what I'm doing now, but I have all this other different experience. And, there's always that bridge. I mean, obviously, security and that kind of thing into real estate, there's a strong bridge there. Some transitions from a career perspective are more linear than others. And some of them might take a little bit deeper to kind of figure out what that bridge is, but there's always that bridge. So, there's always something that you are bringing to the table today, even though if your table looked totally different 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's still who you are and that experience that you're bringing. So really, just to kind of summarize at a high level what we talked about, the keys to establishing your personal brand are really taking that time to get clear on who you truly are. And whether that's getting really just introspective, whether that's asking people in your life, what do you think when you think of me? What are the top 5 words that come to mind? Just really taking stock of who you are today, where you came from, the expertise that you bring, the experience, all the things that we talked about today really do make you who you are. And getting clear on that and being able to articulate that, that's going to set you up for success. And owning, as I mentioned, what you bring to the table and how you serve your clients. Thinking about what your clients will experience when working with you and what you want that experience to be. And then lastly, being consistent. And we've talked about that in a few different areas today. Really, you think about people's attention spans, and you think about, especially frankly, with the social media algorithms and things like that, you may feel like, oh, I'm posting the same stuff over and over again. It feels redundant to me. It doesn't feel fresh. But you think about the same people are not seeing it every time you put it out there. So the more consistent you are, the more that you are going to get new eyes on your content. And that's the new people that are going to connect with you. And again, teaching that audience what to expect from you, because you have shown up in that way, whether in person, whether digitally, whether through social media, you have shown up as that person consistently every single time. There are no surprises. Well, of course, Kristen showed up in this way because that's who she is. That's on brand for her. She makes me feel this way. She makes me feel like I'm the only client she has because that's how she has consistently treated me. And that's how she has shown up for me and for her other clients. So just thinking about the clarity and the consistency, those 2 things alone are going to really help set you apart and set you up for success, especially for those of you that are newer and kind of establishing maybe your brand identity and what it is that you want to convey. Keep these things in mind, and it's going to really help you. And that is the bulk of the content for today. I would be more than happy if any of you, if this sparked something in you where you want to talk more about, hey, can you just even take a look at my social media? What do you think? I'm not quite sure if this is really reflective of who I am. I am happy to do a free 20-minute discussion with any of you to talk about your personal branding, talk about your goals, give you any of my input and insight if you find that helpful. And then if you do want to work with me and and kind of go much deeper and truly build out what your personal brand strategy looks like, I am offering a special promotion just for all of you on the call. And so just shoot me an email at barbaragonzalez@gforcepr.com, and we can talk about what that looks like, and we can dive deeper to see if that's a good fit for you. But if it's something that you're looking at to really kind of get established now as you head into the new year, I would love to have a conversation with you and talk about what we can do for you. So again, thank you so much for your time and your attention today. I know you all have a ton going on, and I appreciate it. And I hope that this content was valuable for you and a good use of your hour. And again, happy to answer any questions you have here, or please email me and we can communicate that way if that's easier.
Barbara, can
Thank
you give any tips and tricks about getting past your maybe personal like vulnerabilities about putting yourself out there? Because I think that talking to a lot of agents, especially with like video and things like that, people have like kind of a wall to producing that kind of content.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can relate to that. I am certainly the same way. I will say that the trend is definitely going away from the overly polished, overly produced, perfect video. People really just want to see you. And so it can be, whether it's you're in your car and you're in between listings and this is just the reality of what's going on, or, you've, your day didn't go the way you thought it would, and you want to hop on and just be like, you know what, this like today was rough. I'm sure you all can relate, that kind of thing. So be thinking about how you can relate to the audience that you are trying to connect with. And the reality is, a lot of it is just doing it and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's not always easy, but you just literally have to kind of just hold your breath and post it, and knowing it's not going to be perfect. And the more that you do it, and the more you get used to it, and the more you realize, okay, I survived that. Like, I'm okay, I'm good. And then you just keep going. And then when you reach a point where you do want it to be more produced, more polished, or maybe every once in a while, those are the kind of videos that you do, then that's great too. But those that aren't perfect and aren't polished, that's when they see the real you. And again, that's what they're going to connect with, because you can still convey professionalism. You can still convey expertise. You can still convey that trustworthiness that you have earned and be imperfect at the same time. And that's okay. A lot of it is literally just pushing post and doing it. So hopefully that helped.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody have any questions while we still have some time here? Okay.
I did put in the chat. I'm wondering if your brand, for everyone in real estate, a lot of people have their photo. Is that important to have when you're branding, or can you do branding without having a headshot or whatever?
I think that I think it depends on the other ways in which you're showing up. I think headshots and things like that were like on business cards and things like that were more important maybe beforehand, where we didn't have the opportunity to be on video all the time and really get to show who you are. Or maybe when you're first starting out, you really want people to be able to recognize you. And so you do have those headshots and those different, lifestyle shots and more professional available. So I think that it depends on where you are in your business and how often you show up in other ways. So I think that, and especially a lot of times, especially for women, headshots they could look differently a month from now if you completely change your hair or something like that. And so it's not always that consistent in that way. But if you're showing up on a regular basis on social media, on video, with photos, like in the, just real life photos there, that can help portray that too and help establish you without always having to feel like you have to have your headshot and everything.
Thank you.
All right. Going once, going twice.
Oh, Dave, don't be so fast. Hey, Hey, Dave, real quick. I know you're concerned. This is for you, but I guess it pertains to a bunch of people. If you don't make videos or don't make recordings or whatever, here's the deal. And I love what Barbara said. Get over it. That's how you sound, and that's how you look. So there you go. And it is what it is, right? Because you hear that so many times. Well, I don't like this or I don't like that. That's what you sound like. That's what you look like. So get over it and just start throwing videos up there, Dave. I am talking to you. Just kidding. Hey, Barbara, thank you for doing this. You know, I thought for a moment, you know, and I heard Julie just ask about it. She said something about, you know, should you use your picture? Should you not use your picture? And my immediate thought went to, well, that's more so of just simply marketing and stuff like that. What this has brought me back to, and I just started thinking about it, was who do I want to be as a person, and then how am I showing up, and am I doing that on a consistent basis, day after day after day? And it is simple things. What immediately, because I taught a class today on how to present, and we got into the finite detail of it, you know, the being early, the how am I dressed, the, you know, how do I speak, how do I sound, and am I doing that like all the time? Does it, you with me? And that's kind of, you know, while you're getting into some of this other stuff, but you know, we're talking about branding, we're talking about the branding of ourselves and not necessarily real estate. We just happen, some of us happen to be selling real estate, some people happen to be doing mortgages, some people happen to be coaches, like it just whatever. But then me as a person, what do I believe? What impression do I want to leave with you? How do I want you to perceive me? What are you saying about me? How am I showing up? All of those things. So I thought it was a constant reminder, or not a constant reminder, a great reminder. And what I'm thinking about now every day, actually printing your little slide and actually showing that, because I think part of that brand, what you said was consistency. Am I doing that every single day? Or some days am I slacking off and not meeting up to the standards or the brand that I've put forth and stuff like that? Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense. No, it completely makes sense. And I think, and also that consistency every day does not have to be posting on Instagram every day or posting on Facebook every day. It can be, the way that I'm reaching out to clients in my pipeline, the way that I am following up, the way that I'm responding to the way and the frequency in which I am responding to people coming to speak with me, how am I giving value without expecting anything back? How, you know, all of those things. Social media plays a part in that, and doing the videos and all that plays a part too, but it really is every interaction that you have with someone, that's that consistency, and that's what builds your brand. And once you really get locked into truly who you are and how you want to show up, it becomes it's less something that you think about all the time, and it's just simply you're showing up as you on a regular basis and in everything that you do.
Awesome, thank you. I think Ann Shaheen, I'm sorry I was talking so much, but I think Ann had her hand up.
Yeah, I should say, I thought I saw somebody.
You know, I did. And I think I thought about it when Julie was asking about whether I should put my picture on things. And then David was asking about the videos. Of course, so long in the business, I always believed that I was in the business of buying brain cells. The more people that knew I was a realtor, the more likely that I was to succeed. And I will tell you, long from the 90s, I always branded myself with a photograph, and I would go places and people would recognize me because of it. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. The other thing is, you know, I always do videos for you guys at least once a month, right? When I first started using BombBomb, which is the video product that I used, oh my God, I would do 6 to 8 takes before I sent it to you all. Now 1 or 2, and you know, the hair is in the face, and look at me today. I mean, you know, it's not a good hair day, but I showed up. And what happens is you become real. You are who you are after a while. And that's what your friends and family want from you, and your customers. They want you to be who you are. So I totally agree with you, Barbara. I love it. And they get easier. They really do. And, you know, I could tell you just one thing that for sure I knew video worked is when I first joined EXP and I went to the first EXP Con. even as the DMB, nobody knew who I was. Obviously, I wasn't doing videos. And then I started doing videos for you all. And now I can't go anywhere and not be recognized. So that's what you want. You want to be recognized as a professional in your industry. So do it.
Love that. Yes, yes, absolutely. And it takes time. And that's
It
where that
takes time.
consistency piece comes in, but it pays off. It pays
Mhm.
off in the end. And
Yes, it
also, you know, for any of you that do have teams, and if you want to have this information shared with your teams, I am happy to do the same presentation or, you know, something similar to anyone on your team as well. If you feel that they could really benefit from that, I'm happy to do that. You have my email address right here on the screen. So if there's anything else that I can do for you or your teams or anybody else in your community that you think can benefit from this, please reach out. I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else today?
That's everything from my end. Yeah, unless there's anything else from
Your opportunity. What are you wondering about? All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for your time. Thank you so much, Barbara, for popping on here and sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it. And this is being recorded and it will be up in the community. And if anybody would like to reach out to Barbara, her information's on here, or reach out to me or Kristen Gulling, and we can connect you too.
Fantastic. Thank
all
you
right.
so much. I really appreciate your time and your attention. And like I said, I hope you found this hour valuable.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you so much.
Thank
you.
you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.